Hey, I'm LaToya Drake with Kentucky's Nutrition Education Program for the University of Kentucky Cooperative Extension Service, and I'm here in the beautiful Allen County Cooperative Extension Service demo kitchen, and their office is so pretty. It's got so much character, and we're here making something pretty tasty. It has the flavors of the season. It includes butternut squash, which winter squash is in season now, and it's one of our plated up Kentucky Proud recipes. This is super simple and super hearty, and squash are going to be abundant, and squash are going to store really well over the winter. That's why they're called winter squash. So this one includes butternut squash, and we've got some already cut up here. It's got ground turkey, and let me just go through the ingredients really quickly so you can have those on hand. It's got a couple of tablespoons of olive oil, a medium onion or so chopped. It's got 4 cloves of garlic minced. It's got a pound of ground turkey. It's got 1 small butternut squash, and you can find those locally at some of your farmers markets now. It also has 1 cup of low sodium low sodium chicken broth, if I can get it out today. So low sodium chicken broth. It has a can of chopped green chilies. That's going to give it some flavor. It's got a couple of cans of reduced sodium petite diced tomatoes. It has a can of white hominy drained. It has a can of red kidney beans drained and rinsed. And then it's got tomato sauce. We're also going to spice it up some with some cumin and some chili powder. There's a tablespoon of both of those in there, as well as some salt. And I added some pepper flakes just for some extra flavor because we like it spicy in my house, so I want it to give it some flavor. So we're going to start with this recipe by, let's see, we're going to heat the olive oil. And I've got this is a nice new stove they've got going on here at this office. So I've got this pot already getting hot for us. So I'm just going to put the olive oil in. Got a little trash there. It's getting hot already. Let me turn it down. And let's brown my onions. So that was about 1 medium onion. It's always something cooking on somebody else's. There we go. But this is so nice and fresh. So we've got our onions browned, and I'm going to add the garlic in just a bit because garlic has the tendency to burn a little bit when you're browning it. So sometimes you want to add that after you get your onions good and going just to avoid that scorching, because it's not going to be the best flavor if you over brown it. But so we've got winter squash out. We've got some spaghetti squash, some butternut squash, an acorn squash, a pumpkin pie, a pie pumpkin. Let me get it out. A pie pumpkin. So pie pumpkin's going to be smaller than those pumpkins that we carve traditionally for our holidays. They're going to be smaller, and they're going to be more tender and less stringy. But all of these winter squash, you can roast all of those seeds if you like, and you want to do that on low heat so you don't burn those healthy fats in those seeds. So do that on low heat for about 20 minutes or so. So just like you roast pumpkin seeds, you can roast butternut squash seeds. Those will be great in a salad. You can add those to your oatmeal in the morning. So our onion here is starting to brown, starting to become translucent. We're going to add this garlic, all of this flavor here, all of it. No waste. Still some waste, but it's fine. So we've got this. Turn this down just a bit. Gonna add my turkey in just a moment. And like we said, you can roast any of these types of winter squash and use those seeds and roast those seeds. And we always think about these skins being so tough, but in actuality, all of these skins are edible. They're just not so tender. Some of the skins that aren't as tender, you might want to boil those with other vegetable scraps, like carrot roots and all of that different things, and boil those down and make you a good vegetable stock out of those not so tender skins. Squash like acorn squash, you're going to be able to eat the skins because they're going to be a little more tender and less thick and tough. But that's the reason that these winter squash store forever in our winter cellars and different things. And if you store these properly, they're going to store for up to, if not longer than a month. Okay, so we've got this looking good. I'm going to go ahead and add our ground turkey as it calls for next. And we're going to get this brown. We're going to cook our meat until it's brown, so let's let that go. Right there. So also, actually squash is classified as a fruit, kind of like tomatoes are, but we're going to use them similarly to vegetables in our cooking purposes, right? So they're going to cook like a vegetable, but technically they're a fruit, like cucumbers are and tomatoes. So we've got our ground turkey going. We've heated our olive oil. I added my onions. I got those translucent. I added my garlic. Now I am browning the ground turkey. That was a pound of ground turkey. As soon as that gets brown all the way, then I can start to add the other ingredients. We want to brown this till it's no longer pink. I'm gonna flip this to the other side. And turkey is just a nice, lean meat. And it's turkey season, so this is a really good kind of non-traditional way to use our turkey. In addition to recipes like this that are going to use turkey, we have recipes on planeatmove.com that are going to be able to use your leftover turkey from Turkey Day. So that's something to think about in relating to saving money, is using all of that turkey up. But this is a great way to have a different alternative than the way we classically use turkey during this turkey season. This would serve great at a potluck. You could carry this in a slow cooker with you to make sure it stays food safe. You know, butternut squash and squash, despite being low in calories, they're really dense. So they're going to be really filling. And so they're great with folks who might suffer with sugar issues to eat because they're going to be low on the glycemic index. So the butternut squash specifically, or winter squash, has about 45 to 90 calories per cooked serving. So that's just something to think about. A great way to get a dense vegetable in with low calories. So we're still browning this ground turkey. It's starting to smell good with the onions and the garlic. You know, it's just great for us to eat a variety of vegetables. So winter squash is something that we can throw in rotation, especially when it's in season. It's going to be cheaper for us. And you can use these in different ways. Like you can cut bowls into them and stuff your squash. With spaghetti squash, I love it as a pasta alternative. The best way to cut this is in half this way, because you're going to get longer noodles if you cut it that way. So basically you cut it in half and put olive oil on it and turn it down and put that in the oven and bake it for a while. I think it's like 45, 50 minutes, but you bake it until it's finished. If you need more info on that, contact your extension office. But once that's finished, you're going to be able to scrape the noodles out. And I love to use a spaghetti squash and top that with meat sauce and use it as a noodle alternative. Not only because it's low carbs or whatever, because it tastes good. The flavor is really nice. And one of our other plated up Kentucky Proud recipe is a Tex-Mex spaghetti squash casserole, I believe. Super tasty using spaghetti squash. It makes it hearty, but you know you're getting your veggies in. Okay. The pink is starting to go away. We want to make sure that's completely done before we add our vegetable ingredients. And like we said, with winter squash, the tough exteriors, that tough skin is what's going to allow those to store through the winter. That's why we call them winter squash. So they can last for a month or more, but they're going to be best quality if you eat them within a month or so. So different ways to prepare them. You can do this, you can use them sweet, you can use them savory, like we've got our pumpkin, our pie pumpkin here. Another good recipe we have at Plated Up Kentucky Proud is our cushaw pie. And so cushaw is also another winter squash to be aware of that's grown locally at times here. It's a beautiful squash, and it's a large squash. So not only you can cook it up and make pie, but you could also cube it, you could freeze it, you could use some and roast it. You could even use that in this recipe actually. Some of these winter squash can be substituted interchangeably, and cushaw would be great cubed up in this chili recipe or similar. So yeah, we've got a variety of winter squash to try this season, and vary our veggies as my plate encourages us to do. Okay, the pink is about gone. Because after this pink is gone, we are going to, I broke it into pieces. I'm gonna add my butternut squash because the pink is pretty much gone. And butternut squash, sweet potatoes, I've almost like cut my fingers off trying to cut these off, honestly, cut these up. But there's a way to do this safer. You can poke holes in your squash or winter squash with a knife, a few all the way around, and heat those in the microwave for about 5 minutes after you do that. That's gonna make that softer and easier to cut so we're not injuring ourselves, right? So I am just browning these squash up a bit. That's gonna be so pretty when that's done too. And like I said, it serves with a potluck. We'll probably have this for dinner tonight, honestly, with a good grilled cheese sandwich to sop up some of those good juices. It's gonna be super colorful and super tasty. So we've got our turkey, we've got our butternut squash. We want to add, let's see, our chicken broth. And I'm just gonna put this whole can in because it's not gonna hurt anybody. I think it says a cup. So we got our chicken broth in there. That's gonna add some flavor to that turkey. Green chilies. If I can get it out of there. That's gonna give it some flavor. It's a nice tang, these chilies. And you know, this kind of soup is gonna be less expensive than some other recipes. It's gonna go a long way. You can eat on this for a few days. And that's really something to consider as we see the price of food prices rising. This is gonna last a few days. So we've got our green chilies. What else is next? Let's see. Our tomatoes. And we've got reduced sodium, everything. But we're gonna add some flavor back and it's gonna be fine. It won't be bland. Tomatoes. And I got the off-brand because that's not gonna hurt anybody anyway. If we're saving money on food, we wanna consider that. So that, let's see what's next here. Tomatoes, kidney beans that we drained and I rinsed. Hominy that I drained. Let's put all these good seasonings in. And look how colorful this is. And that hominy adds just something, just a different kind of texture as well. It's a kind of thicker chili too, but I like that. So all of this good flavor, this is the cumin, this is the chili powder, this is the salt. And like I said, I did a few red pepper flakes to give it some flavor, some more flavor. So then we've got our reduced sodium tomato sauce. And put all that goodness in there. And we're gonna stir this up well. And once we get this stirred well, we're gonna cover this and cook it for about 20 minutes. and then we will see what this looks like when this is done. All right, so come back in just a minute and we'll see. All right, we're back with our squash. It's been simmering for about 20 minutes or so, so that we got the butternut squash soft and tender. So this tasty recipe and more recipes can not only be found at planeatmove.com, that's our NEP website, it can also be found at plateitup.ca.uky.edu. That's plateitup.ca.uky.edu. You can also reach out to your local Kentucky Extension office, or you can reach out to Barry Hyatt. That's barry.hyatt@nctc.com for this and more flavorful recipes. Super tasty, super hearty, great for a holiday potluck, and there are many more recipes to be inspired by. So reach out to a University of Kentucky Cooperative Extension Service near you, and thank you for watching.